Okay.
Okay, so today in our final presentation, we're going to be going over the following things: the project description, a literature review, similar solutions, standards, regulations, flow analysis and potential solutions, recommended solution, vendors and contractors, equipment, labor and training, construction characteristics, economic analysis, an analysis of the cash flow, return of investment, and the project schedule.
Mhm. What our project entailed is that we were hired by two clients from Taiwan to help them introduce a popular hobby from Southeast Asia, which is called fishing, and what that basically involves is fishing indoors in places where you can't normally fish in the because given to that they are in cities, and our job is to help them design and construct a building and help them find an area that is suited for such a business here in Texas, specifically in the Houston area. For our literature review, it was very complicated to find such things as when we try to search for some of the literature, a majority of it wasn't in English. And when we found something in English, it was very little. So we had to think through it. And what we mostly looked through were openings and leasings for plots of lands and warehouses to find a suitable building or a plot of land to build the indoor pond. And we looked at articles and demographics of areas that we can find affordable for a plot of land near the Houston area. And finally, what we examined were various contractors of species of fish that were approved by the Texas Park and Wildlife Association and the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, and to search what viable species of fish we can put in the ponds for this business.
Okay, so whenever we were tasked with this feasibility study, we looked in to see who else has done this, what is different about what they're doing compared to what we're supposed to be studying, and maybe what can we see with their operation that we think we could do differently. So the most similar that we found that we actually did some modeling after is called Texas Fishing LLC, and they run an operation in Caddo Mills. Caddo Mills is about an hour northeast of Dallas Fort Worth, and we are pretty confident seeing Texas Fishing LLC run an operation like they do in such an area like Caddo Mills. We're incredibly confident in an operation coming to this area with pulling from the demographics of Houston that doesn't really have a recreational fishing pond like that. We're incredibly confident in this, and we think that we could follow their model of equipment rentals, day passes, fish processing, and just a fun, family-friendly atmosphere. And we think that it's a must to bring to the Houston and outskirted area. So next, Jordan will cover some standards.
Standards that we found that will have an effect on this operation is the Texas Surface Water Quality Standards 307.1. Then for the stocking of the fish, we had to take into account the Texas Park and Wildlife Fish Stocking Standard and the USD Standard E399137X. And we also had to take into accountability the CD standards for COVID-19, which will affect the business operation. Then we'll pass it back to Kyle for the regulations.
So for an operation like this, Texas Parks and Wildlife, also known as TPWD, they're the main governing body for an operation such as this. Texas is one of the few states that, however, does not allow cross-county or cross-region species transfer. And Texas doesn't allow that because of how vast and delicate the range of Texas wildlife is. So in some cases, you could have fish native to the region get pre-approved to go into a county, but most of the time they don't. They're pretty confident in not allowing you to switch over. So some of the major regulations to be addressed would be legal means of transporting and stocking, the legal means of fishing and waste disposal. So we'll have to follow the proper waste disposal as we're dealing with animal waste that can reach farming levels. And it might be a problem since we're rural, but we're not super rural. And with the proximity to Houston, it's definitely something that's going to need to be addressed. And then we specifically went through the guidelines of the EPA's agriculture and carcass, because there will be dead fish, their guidelines, and then their carcass disposal, and then following the USDA's agriculture waste management handbook, just to make sure that everything about an operation like this would be within, I say, for lack of a better term, code, and make sure it's up to standard. Following next, we will have Ed with potential solutions.
We examined various potential solutions for this project, and we came up with three, with the main factors being price, maintenance, training cost, and the feasibility of each design. What we found were three solutions, which is the first one being an indoor and outdoor facility, which we like to nickname a hybrid facility for easier saying, a fully indoor facility and a fully outdoor facility. Okay. Our first option was a semi-outdoor pool with a hybrid design. The first option we considered was using a hybrid solution in which half the facility was located inside of a warehouse, and the outside facility was located in an outdoor plot of land with a design for a built-in lake. We found that the main advantages of this is that once the fish grew in the indoor facility, we could put them in the larger outdoor facility, given the amount of room. We would be spending less in maintaining, as we would just be mostly investing in the indoor facility, and we would be requiring less pumps and equipment and employees compared to all of it being indoor. And one of the main advantages we see as a business is that most customers want a real experience as close as possible to where they live. The main disadvantage we found in this facility was that half of it would be theoretically susceptible to the environment, and we would be forced to shut down that part given with bad weather, such as the recent amount of hurricanes in the Houston area. Okay. Our next our next facility would be an entire indoor pool. It would just mostly be indoor with smaller pools and a larger pool in the facility. We found that the advantages for this facility was that it would be open all year round theoretically, and will be easier to not be susceptible to the environment. And also that we found more locations when we were looking at sources of warehouses. And the main disadvantage of this is at the expense of the facility, and we would need to be requiring more employees and more equipment to maintain, and can only compensate a certain amount of fish in various small sizes. Our final solution was our full outdoor pool. What this involved was just renting or buying a plot of land and installing a large lake facility and some small optional facilities with outdoor activities such as a patio and bathroom facilities. The main advantage of this is it will be way cheaper to build, and there will be more room for fish, and it will involve less maintenance and training for all of it. The disadvantages we found were that it would be fully susceptible to weather conditions and have to look for a large undeveloped plot of land that is more likely farther away from the main Houston area compared to what we found in our original search area for the semi-outdoor facility and the fully indoor facility. We found that our final recommended solution was a hybrid model consisting of both the indoor and outdoor facility, with the indoor facility having the indoor pools, the tackle shops, and the barbecue pits, and the bar grill, as will the outdoor pool will have it. Outdoor area will have a fully man-made lake with a dock and barbecue pits.
Okay, so I'm going to discuss the vendors and contractors that could perform a project like this. So it's really going to be in two steps. The pond construction we're recommending gets handled by La Chow Ranch, and the building construction will get handled by Dixon Builders. I will go ahead first with pond construction, then I'll make my way into the building construction. So when our team went looking for a company, we only found one that could really capture the entire scope of the pond construction, meaning design, construction, stocking it, commissioning the pond, which is testing, and being able to train managers. Watch Out Ranch LLC is a top-rated farm and ranch construction and pond management company, and they're located actually right here in the Brazos Valley. They're a very diversified company. Like I said, they handle all aspects of pond and lake construction, starting from the design phase all the way to commissioning the pond and training managers. They're well experienced Aggie owned and operated company, and they won't and they will be able to train the managers um, on how to maintain the equipment, how our feeding procedures, and just overall maintaining the everyday responsibilities to really ensure pond and fish health. We found that they're more than qualified to provide a turnkey system. And once again, that includes design, construction, commissioning, stocking, and pond management. Next, we're going to go to the construction of the indoor facility. And we have chosen for the structure of the indoor portion to be made of metal. And we've decided that Dixon Builders would be a great fit to design and build our indoor space for the pond, as they are one of Texas' premier metal building design build contractors with over 40 years of experience. When we're looking into building expenses, and especially right now in such a crazy market, a metal design was what we thought was a no-brainer, as they have a lower cost over a lifetime, a faster completion of construction. They offer a more flexible design. They have unparalleled strength. They're non-combustible, and they have exceptionally low maintenance. And they can also be constructed for up to 50% less than a traditional style building. Lastly, why we decided on a metal building is that historically, land with one or more steel buildings generally appreciate more than a traditional style would. I know we've discussed the area we're going to with big plans in the next 10 to 15 years, having proximity to FM 362 and Highway 290 area. In 15 to 20 years, that area is going to be unrecognizable. So not only is it a good investment in terms of a lower upfront cost to build, but looking at it in say 30 years as what is that land going to be worth now makes it definitely a no-brainer for us to go with that. Next, we're going to go into equipment, and Jordan's going to go over that.
Through research, we determined that the equipment needed for this recommended solution will include 15 indoor barbecue grills, 20 outdoor barbecue grills, one karaoke set for the entertainment system, and bait and tackles, and we determined that this number will need to be decided as the operation starts. We also need waste containers, 10 total, 5 indoor 35-gallon, and 5 outdoor that are 42-gallon. And we also need supplies for concession and fish cleaning stations. We'll need 4 total, 2 indoor tables and sink sets, and 2 outdoor tables and sink sets. The labor and training needed for this solution, we determined that there will need to be 12 employees, which 6 per shift at work, 1 general manager, and a pond management service that needs to be hired to take care of the ponds and fish. And the training, each employee will be trained on how to operate each station, and the training will be done on the job, and it will be only one-time training, and the training will be done by the general manager. The construction characteristics for this operation needs to fit approximately 200 fishermen throughout the whole operation. That means indoor and outdoor. The indoor facility will be approximately 30,000 square feet, and on the outdoor, the outdoor area will need a 10-acre pond. Going through the economic analysis, the source of cost and value, we found that the initial investment cost will be the metal indoor structure, which is 30,000 square feet, will cost approximately $210,000. The outdoor pond, which is 10 acres, will be approximately $20,000. And the equipment and installation will be approximately $15,000, leading to a total initial investment cost of $240,000. And for the operating costs, we found that for the employees, it will cost around $4,320 a week. The general manager will cost approximately $1,512 a week, and the stocking management service will be $12,000 per call out, leading to a total operating cost of $7,032 per week. For the analysis of cash flow, we determined that the revenue per year will be based on admission tickets, party tickets, and concession tickets, do-it-yourself barbecue tickets, and bait and tackle rentals. And we figured that this will be a total revenue of $787,500 per year. And coming up with the labor cost per year, we determined that it will be $353,664 per year. Next slide.
Hang on, sorry.
The analysis of cash flow continued. We determined that the utility cost for electricity will be $26,478 per year, and the water bill will be $125,000 per year, and the sewage will be $258 per year, leading to a total utility cost of $151,736 per year. And for material costs, consisted of bait and tackle, chemical application for the water, and the fish and feed, and concession supplies, leading to a total material cost of $126,500 per year. And for the payback period, we did the initial investment, which is $240,000 divided by the profit, which is $155,600 per year, leading to 1.54 years for a payback period, about 1.5 years. And for the return on investment, the NPV and IRR, internal rate of return for the hybrid solution, we use a 10% discount rate, and we figured out that there's a discount rate of 10% and an internal rate of return of 58% and a net present value of $349,846.42.
All right, so I'm going to discuss some of the risks in implementing these or an operation such as this. So the first risk is going to go over changing and unsteady variable values, and the risks associated with changing and variable values are mitigated by having an understanding of the market and routinely and thoroughly documenting market prices. So I'm going to go over this a little more, but so right here we have labor cost, electricity cost, water cost, maintenance cost, and input costs. Those are all dollars per unit, depending on what they are, obviously. That is an average that we have found between the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics and a few other sources. So the issue presented by the potentially dynamic nature of these variables is that they could be a source of miscalculated cost projections and profit estimates. This threat can be described as random because the client is susceptible to the changing environment and they can't really do anything to avoid it. Labor costs and maintenance costs may fluctuate due to changes in minimum wage laws. We're kind of seeing that right now. And electricity and water costs are dependent on the area in which the facility is located, and they're vulnerable to the effects of supply and demand. I think this recent weather event has really opened the eyes to that, seeing, I think, $9 a kilowatt hour. And that's nothing that the operator can, or the clients can control, but it is something that they need to be made aware of. And being able to document it and foreseeing certain changes in the economy would be able to really help mitigate these risks. So then we'll be going into the second risk, which would be a system and design failure. And so the three main risks of the system or design failure that I have found through analyzing the system would be a failure of the pumping system, failure of the nutrient delivery system, or a total system failure. So first of all, with a failure of the pumping system, which is located on the backside of the pond, kind of out of view as not to be an eyesore. It can occur from pumps being overloaded, losing power, or imploding, thus compromising the system. And the best way we've found to mitigate pump failure would having systems managers who are well versed in general pump maintenance, general principles of electricity, general plumbing, and troubleshooting. Nothing too crazy, but being able to not have to sub every little problem out and being able to self-perform some of that. Second of all, we have the risks that are associated with the nutrient delivery failure. And so the way we would mitigate this risk is having standby feeders and bubblers to sustain the pond while the original system is being repaired. And so really, this isn't a huge deal, but it's something that needs to be addressed to ensure that the fish are still being fed and that the pond is receiving the oxygen and other inputs that it really needs to be as healthy as possible. And then so lastly is a total system failure. And the risk is not super likely, but it's definitely something that is severe enough that it must be recognized and it must be discussed. And in the possibility that it does happen, a mitigation plan will have to be in effect. And so, to mitigate a total system failure, first of all, we're going to try, in terms of mitigation, by completely avoiding this. And by that, we plan on using or recommending up to date equipment and technology and practicing standard industry practices. For some reason, if new technology and industry practices don't work, the operation will have to scrap the existing equipment and recuperate approximately 25% of the equipment investment and order new equipment ASAP. And in that time, we'll hopefully have like that second risk, be able to keep the pond sustainable while the original equipment is gone. So next, we're going to discuss risk number 3, which would be employee training and safety. So like last, the first risk would be the employee knowledge on maintaining equipment. Like I said, between pumps, general electricity, plumbing, there are some risks and hazards that are associated with general maintenance like that. So properly training managers how to safely maintain equipment will be not only saving us money as we don't have to sub it out, but obviously safe is great, and that's what our business model is looking after. So secondly, would be the risk would be associated physical risks with the sport of fishing, specifically errant hooks and water dangers of being surrounded by water in terms of falling in, uh, Lord forbid, drowning, those kinds of things. So client employee safety is the number one priority and should be addressed accordingly. And to mitigate these risks for clients, for both clients and employees, we're going to make sure that the clients have ample space, and this should mitigate the errant hook issue. And we will also have managers who have extensive training, pretty much like lifeguards, on staff at the time at all times of operation, ready for something like that to happen. The last we're going to discuss is wildlife risks, and that goes wildlife risk goes back as far as um, even getting a catfish off of a hook or dealing with something more serious like water moccasin. And we'll have managers that have, we recommend managers that have previous wildlife handling experience, but we don't expect every trained manager to know how to deal with, say, a water moccasin. So we recommend extended training for certain situations like that. And like I said, not only will that save us money, not having to call other people and kind of be more self-sufficient, but also maintaining a safe environment for our clients and the employees. And lastly, I'm going to go over the project schedule for what we think for getting this operation started. So after procuring the land, we're planning on a month and a half project schedule. We understand that this is progressive, but the sooner it's completed, the sooner our clients can create revenue. Our also source of thinking for this is their busiest months are coming up, or we're pretty much getting right into where their busiest months are going to be, and being able to operate or open up in a time where they're going to be able to have business booming instead of opening it in, say, November or December, we think would be incredibly advantageous to the clients, as well as putting a little peace of mind in their pocket that this operation will work. So we have site prep and dirt work. This is approximately 3 weeks. And then we have the structure erection, which is about 9 days. So once the pond is built, and the structure's erected, the equipment will come in and be commissioned. And then once we know that the pond is sustaining and healthy, then we will come and stock the pond with the fish species. And then after that, La Chow Ranch will train the managers and get it ready for completion. So with all of that being said, we do recommend this. We have found it financially feasible, and we do believe that there is a market demand for an operation such as this, especially in an area like Waller, Texas. That concludes our presentation, and we'd like to open up for any questions.
So it's a very good presentation, a lot of information here, and I like your style, and everything looks fantastic. I just have two questions. So can you go back to the standards slides before the regulations? Right here. So can you kind of brief, like, how am I gonna use this standard in what situation? Like, what does the standard do? And
for the Texas surface water quality standards, that will be for the disposal of, like, when you're changing the indoor ponds and you're trying to just get rid of the water, you'll have to follow those standards.
Okay.
To not get fined or.
Okay. What about the USDA standard? And
that's for the fish stocking. If you're trying to get like foreign fish from a different country, you have to follow that to make sure they're not an invasive species.
Okay, so that's for that's if I want to import like
yes, sir.
Foreign species. Okay, awesome. Can you go to the net present value, the cash flow, cash income analysis? Have a table says like initial cost and income. This one. How do you get $155,000 per year? How do you get this number?
Well, we just use that because that's what the base profit was. So we just basically used it for the next 5 years, assuming that was the profit that you made.
Let me ask this question in another way. How many customers I need to have per day or per month in order to make this revenue?
That would be on the revenue side. Can you go over?
I mean, income, yeah.
We basically base it off of sales more than people, or down one.
I'm sorry, which slide again was that?
This one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did the general basis off of the amount of tickets sold per year, more than rather than the people in the door.
So I have to sell this much in combined in order to make 155,000.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in one general area.
So. Okay, that makes sense. All right, that's all my questions. Good job.
Okay, I'll let Dr. Castell, why don't you go first, and then I'll go from there, and we'll ask Dr. Lacey if he has some comments.
Okay, yeah, I think this was your best presentation on the semester. You really put effort on getting together as a team, organizing the presentation. So I'm very pleased with that. A very good development from the previous one. So it shows that you really work as a team and put it together in a presentable and professional way. I like your slides. They are different from the rest. So I like the diversity of the colors and the slide. Some of your bullets, they're not really bullets. They have a lot of text. And I think you need to really go back and improve your writing in some of those sentences. It's too much wording and things that are like way cheaper. I don't think that's technical enough. Just a few points to improve mostly your final report, right? So I don't wanna see way cheaper. Quantify your statements and use a little more technical writing and reduce the amount of text. You have it in there and you are doing a very good job talking about it. So each team member knows what they did and describing that very well. So that was kind of my comments. I like that you had your literature review slides. That was great. It shows what kind. It would have been nice to have a references slide so I could go back and see what type of literature did you actually search. But at least you mentioned that, which is good. I had a few of the same questions as the client had, so I'm going to address that. I would have liked to see again, when you talk about type of buildings, metal versus wood, it would have been nice to see a few photographs so I could follow better what was your thinking. But you describe it very well, but I personally get lost with words. So seeing the picture of the different structures would have helped me see your final choices on buildings. You did a lot of economic analysis. I didn't go through all the numbers, but it seems that you really focus on, is this project feasible, right, for this region and so forth. It looks like you have something to offer your client, which is very, very satisfactory to me. So again, much improved, which is something I'm very pleased about the team. Good job.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I had the same comments, the sentences instead of bullets, some things like that. Yeah, your presentation was 28 minutes long, and this was definitely the best presentation you made. You guys have really improved a lot, and I think you really gave your client some solid information. The one thing that was a little bit, I'm not really, if I'm gonna count off on this, because maybe this is my preference. You guys did a lot of what I would call ping-ponging, where Kyle would introduce a topic and then Edward would talk about it some, and then go back to Kyle, and then he'd talk a little bit, and then he'd go over to Jordan, and then back to Kyle. But you know what? I think it actually kind of worked for you. It was a little distracting, but you got the information out there. So not my preference, but that worked okay. I appreciate the way you guys worked everybody into the presentation. Kyle, your presentation style in some places was a little bit robotic. You would kind of get into a talk and then it was almost like you were reading it. I've said this to you before, but I can tell you're not reading it. You're just kind of stating the information with very little inflection. So be careful about that. I would even challenge you to watch a recording of this and notice when you do that.
Yes,
it's almost like you're so focused, you're just getting the information out there and not really presenting it, okay? So you're just opening your mouth, the information's coming out, but it's not in a presentation. Yeah, Edward, you were pretty good. Jordan, you were kind of a little bit like that too. Sometimes you were just kind of acted like you were reading it, but still your presentation style is great. And I would put you guys up against any other students in the university in terms of your skill and presentation at making or practice at making presentations. Let's talk about some of the content. We've hit you on this a few times before. Your drawing, the schematic, needs some sort of I have no idea of what the size is there. It's good that you've kind of laid it out, but I need an idea of the scale. Am I looking at something that's these little indoor pools, and that I don't know how big those are, even how deep they are. So if I was the client, I'd probably want a little bit more information here, but this is a good idea of the layout. Also in number 7 there, number 7, docks and barbecue pits. What is the what are those two little things right above the number 7?
That was supposed to be the barbecue pits.
Oh, those are the barbecue pits. Okay. So what is the and that's like a that angle thing, is that like a roof coming out with the support?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's pretty crude. Okay. I wasn't really sure if I'm looking at a picnic table or what am I looking at here. So You know, and I know we didn't give you all much to work with in terms of drawing tools. This looks like AutoCAD, and it's pretty ancient. We're definitely working on that, so that's on us to get y'all in some more state-of-the-art drawing tools. At the very least, you can use PowerPoint to draw with, and it might end up looking better than this. But we've already hashed through that several times. Let's go to your economic analysis. I have some questions about this too. So first of all, I see in your initial cost, you got the structure, you have the construction of the pond, you got equipment. I missed it. Maybe you talked about it, but what about where's the cost of the land? Are you buying the land, or is it already existing land that the clients have?
Well, in the problem, it said that the purchase of land wasn't included in the initial cost.
Thank you for answering that. Okay, good. But you've done a lot of good work in terms of estimating the labor costs here. I always ask this, but 6 employees, 6 days a week times 12 hours a day times $10 an hour. What about the additional costs of labor? We talked about an extra 20%. Is $10 their pay rate?
Yes, sir.
What's that?
Yes, sir. $10 an hour.
Yeah, well, you've got other employee costs, and you need to add another 20%. You know, we call that the fringes, fringe benefits, and
yes, sir.
all other stuff. So you've omitted that. You'll need to do that for all your employees. Let's go to your revenue. I tell you, you got all the moving parts here. You got your initial investment costs, you got your operating costs. You've done a lot of work on the labor. I feel like your revenue is a little optimistic. For example, you're using this, is the first year of revenue the same as the 5th year of revenue? I mean, do you really think you're going to have either a really good first year, or you guys aren't going to improve?
Yeah, I could dial back on the numbers, and as it gets up to the 5th year, it'd be more probably.
Colonel
Yeah,
McGee,
so-
I actually think that that's an excellent point to be made, and something that I definitely didn't think of either. Not only, hopefully, would it become more popular as people go to it and enjoy it, also with our plans of this area booming and say, I mean, even in the next immediate 5 years, but really in 10 to 15 years is probably more reasonable. We should expect to see our revenue increase exponentially as that area does develop more. So just, I guess, thank you for bringing that up.
So selling $25,000 tickets, or 25,000 tickets per year, that averages over, if you're open every day, which I know you're not, is 68 people a day. What's your capacity? What would you like to see? What's the optimum number of?
For 200.
Okay.
For the operation to fit 200 people inside and out.
Good answer.
As a whole.
And so your party tickets, 2,800 parties a year, really? Let's see here. That would be that'd be an average of 7.5 parties a day if you had parties every day, which you're not. I think that's pretty optimistic too. So I'm not sure how you're bringing in all that, but assuming you got the moving point, you got the moving parts here, and then you did your cash flow analysis and all that. I just think your estimates here are quite a bit optimistic. Okay, lastly, let's go to your implementation plan. Let me see your Gantt chart. It's a nice looking Gantt chart. It's easy to read. One of the easier ones to read that I've seen. You know, I'm looking for one number on here. What number am I looking for?
You're going to be looking for the critical path.
I'm looking for how long is the total completion time of this project? I can't tell it. So I would just put a text box in here saying that this is going to take, you know, 150 days or whatever it is. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Did you mention that? And I didn't hear it.
I did say that we were looking for a 1.5 months completion, and that we did understand that it was aggressive, but we were trying to get the operation up and running as quickly as possible. But I should put that on the chart or somewhere on this slide to be.
Yeah. Again, you know, my principle is don't make the client have to do the math himself.
Yes, sir.
Now, don't make me sit there and count up how many days that is and all that, okay?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, but that's all just presentation stuff. But you definitely did the work here. You did some planning. You know, how feasible or realistic that is, I really am not equipped to say. Okay, but anyway, good job. Really nice recovery on this project. I feel like that y'all have, I really like the level of detail you went into on some of these things. Like Kyle, when you were talking about the vendors and you're going to get this Dixon company to come build it in metal buildings. We're going to use metal buildings because metal buildings appreciate. So that was some nice thought that you put into that. Good effort. Dr. Lacey, you have any comments you'd like to make or questions?
Let me unmute. Yeah, I had a couple of comments. I thought, and I'll echo some of what you and Dr. Castell said. I think, and I haven't seen the other teams from this semester, and I missed the earlier presentation from these guys, but I thought it was a pretty thorough. It's definitely more thorough than I'm used to seeing, which is great. I thought, again, on the economic analysis, you had all the parts. You might have to fine tune or adjust some of the values. One thing on the income you might think about doing is looking at maybe 3 incomes, kind of a, you know, kind of typical what you'd expect, best case or worst case, and see what that does to your profitability and analysis. I really like that you went past just doing a payback and did a net present value. I think that was good. I also think the risk analysis portion was good. It covered some kind of big areas and broke it down. So I think that was great. The one question I have is really, and I think it's outside the scope of this project, but it's really more of a marketing question. And I don't know, did you talk about the species of fish you're planting? I saw, you said catfish at one point, and I saw a fish/shrimp, but I guess I would think that would be a marketing factor that, depending on the species of fish, may have more or less appeal to people.
Absolutely. And so I think we have honestly looked over that in this final presentation. It has been covered. Obviously, this doesn't mean anything. It has been covered before. We did miss it in the final presentation.
Okay.
The way Texas Parks and Wildlife regulates doesn't leave a lot of room for I'm going to say variance. So it would really be the 4 that we chose were perch, bass, largemouth bass, perch, catfish, and tilapia.
Okay.
Kind of like a more standard deal. But having to jump through the hoops of TPWD would make things substantially more complicated.
Okay. So that becomes one of your risk analysis issues as well. Yeah, I guess one of the things, and I'm a fisherman, and one of the things I miss fishing for living in Texas is trout, because there's just not enough cold water here. Apparently they stock a little bit over in the hill country, and if you're real lucky and get over there in January, you might catch one. But otherwise, it's just not. We're just not in the right part of the country for it. But yeah, that would be probably the biggest challenge, and then just projecting the kind of sales and the kind of facility that you're thinking about. And again, the parallel I'm thinking about is this new golf facility that's going in here in Bryan, where you're not actually playing golf, you're just going out and hitting balls, but there's all this other stuff that goes along with it. And I get the sense that's kind of where you're at. But again, I think some of that marketing is probably outside the scope of this class and this project. It's certainly, I'm not, it's not the sort of thing I would expect you guys to be, top of mind. But good job. I'd like to say I was, as your instructors, I'll echo what they said. I was impressed. I didn't get a chance to compare against others, but compared to what I've seen in years past, I think you did a great job.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your we do appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right, let's talk about the fish. So what went into the selection of the fish? Here, let me just get to the root of my question. What did tilapia eat? How do I catch tilapia? What bait do I use?
I've always caught them on worms. I don't know what the official, bait is, but I have caught them on worms before.
Well, do you know why tilapia are so popular in ponds?
Well, aren't they
What are they known for?
eating everything, right?
You have
Algae.
to clean it, clean the ponds.
They eat algae and stuff. So I was just, surely people catch tilapia, but I don't know if you catch them with on a hook with bait, or you have to get them with a net or what. But I would just double check if tilapia is a good fish to catch on a hook.
You need a trident there, Colonel McGee.
A trident.
Trident, yeah. You jump in the water and spear them.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. When I open it up, the business will come to join and try it out.
okay. Well, that'll be entertaining.